Bill Captain Marvel, where how did the name Captain Marvel, what is that about?
I was in the Air Force Reserve for 30 years, Florida Air National Guard. When I was a captain, I bought a Porsche 911 in '71, and I bought the license plate Shazam. You know, strength of Samson, endurance of Hercules, the speed of Achilles, and Zeus, and all this other stuff. It was a word that little crippled.
Sounds like Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, that's good. Shazam was a word that Billy Batson said when he turned into Captain Marvel. So when I was in the Air Force, and they started calling me Captain Marvel, so that was my CV handle. So when Brock used to come down with Yogi Bear, and we'd race go-karts. We'd go out and have a few drinks or more, and we'd race go-karts, and he said he'd do a Cannonball. And I was 34, 35 years old. I'd never been to California, it just seemed like a good idea to go. So George Drolson was on our board here at Amelia. He was racing Porsches, and he just bought a Carrera and was pulling the fuel tank out, a 31-gallon fuel tank to put a fuel cell in. So I bought the fuel tank from him, put a 31-gallon tank in the 911, and in the movie, you know, you had Don DeLuise and Burt Reynolds. I always told everybody Burt Reynolds played my part. Don DeLuise is known as Captain Chaos, and I think Brock was getting at me for my Captain Marvel thing. Well, I got Tom Neal, who used to race in IMSA. He and I used to race Camaros together, and I said, let's go to California. It sounded like a good idea. I was racing, I think, Road Atlanta. He was going to meet me in New York City, and he crashed my car the day before, bent fender up. It became the Bondo Special. And they repaired it in 24 hours and got to New York, and we headed out. And we left the Red Ball Garage about 7 in the evening. We decided to take the southern route too, down to Knoxville, because the police in Ohio and Illinois had been tipped off that we were coming. It rained, and they stayed in the donut store, so we moved out. We're going on about 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting pretty tired. I pull off my rest area in Virginia. I said to Tom, you know, take over. So Tom gets in, and I look over, and about 5 miles down the road, his head is knocked off. I said, what's wrong? He said, never could drive at night. We got 2 night stretches ago. And he was an actor, an amateur actor. And he was trying to work the CB, and he had to talk like a trucker. You know, he said, how about eastbound, Captain Marvel, we're looking, and you know, he'd go, hello, fellows. I said, Tom, they're not going to answer you. You kind of call them good buddy. He said, they're not my good buddy. So I was awake the whole Cannonball. I drove 2 miles. Didn't do very well, finished 14th, you know. One of the funniest things happened, all the routes came together in Oklahoma City. And we had a list of the guys in the Cannonball, their CB handles. And we're rocking along, and I said something to a trucker. I said, Captain Marvel, we're westbound, we're going by. And I hear this come on, I said, how about you, Captain Marvel? I said, who is that? He says, it's the Sundance. And we're looking down the distance. I don't know any Sundance. He says, does the Portofino Inn in Redondo Beach, California mean anything to you? I said, yeah, 10th floor. Who we got there? And it turned out to be this Ford van that had been built to run the Cannonball with a bed in the back and a big engine and everything. Isaac's cycle shop in Towson, Maryland. And he says, I said, what's your 20? Which was, what's your location? He says, what's yours? I said, 64 mile marker. He says, we're at 66. I said, Tom, gee, we're behind the van, man. We're about 80 or 90 miles an hour. And this is doing a 55 mile an hour speed limit, so we're about double the speed limit. We'll just move it up a little bit. We did about 100 miles an hour west of Oklahoma City, and I said, we're at 66, where are you? He said, we're at 68. I said, fans doing 100 miles an hour. I said, we'll just move it up to about 115. So we're at 68, where are you? We're at 70. How many sakes? Oh, we wiped, this is a 71 911, do about 130. We were doing about 130, and we're at the 70, where are you? Well, his signal got weak. He'd been a quarter of a mile behind us, telling us he was 2 miles.
Gracious.
Tom slept the rest of the way, and finally the sun was coming up around Needles, and I started slowing down. He says, what's wrong? I said, that guy's crossing the road in front of us. He says, there's no guy there. I said, it's time for you to drive. No, we did it with George Drolson, and if you'll remember Guinness, Ireland, and Big Storita, we entered the first 1 lap of America. Brock invited, you know, they talked about what's the next thing. The Cannonball was kind of, you know, the legal side of the Cannonball thing, man. We talked about the 24 hours in Manhattan, where we race around Manhattan for 24 hours. Everybody get a checker cab, so that would be fun. So we decided on one lap of America, where we started out in Darien, went to Boston, Detroit, Seattle, San Diego, El Paso, San Antonio, New Orleans, Miami, Richmond, Jacksonville, Richmond, back to Darien. And so we called a couple of people. We called Mercedes. They said no. We called Audi for a buddy. Said no. So we rented a Hertz Unlimited mileage Lincoln to the airport. We told the guy at the rental desk. He says, "Are you going to return it where you picked it up?" I said, "Yeah." Took it up at the time, Ennis knew Walter Hayes was president of Ford. We went up to Bill Mitchell's shop in Connecticut, stripped Mr. Hertz's car. We had a rule, we weren't going to drill any holes in it. So we put everything on with Velcro. We put a fuel bladder in the back and a television antenna and a CB antenna. And we had one of those Motorola Pulsars, like you were talking about the size of a suitcase. And a little color TV in the back, and then we fixed up this Lincoln Town. It was Bordello red, red velour interior. Took the bumper guards off and CBA mounted some headlights on it. And we took off and did the one lap of America. And came back in, turned it into Hertz. And I said, "Let's see, Mr. Warner, 500 miles out, 10,160 minutes. You had it 8 days at $39 a day, you owe us $320. To add insult to injury, Ennis put it on his Pan Am card to get 2,000 bonus points.